Hello, this is Sarah Braasch. Welcome back to my channel. So this video that I want to do is about Trump's impeachment. So Trump was impeached today for the second time. And what I want to say about this, what I have to say about this, is that if Trump should be impeached, then there is a very, very long list of Democrats who should be impeached. And if Trump is being impeached, which he is, for inciting political violence, then there is, again, a very, very long list of Democrats who also need to be impeached for inciting political violence. And let's just start with Joe Biden's campaign co-chair, Cedric Richmond, U.S. Representative Cedric Richmond, who tried to drive me to suicide in Yahoo News and the fake news press at the beginning of 2020. He did this multiple times. He tried to drive me to suicide because he knows, and Joe Biden knows, and Kamala Harris knows, and Michelle Obama knows, and Barack Obama knows that I am the proof that the Democrats are the greater threat to our democratic institutions. That is why they did this. And they were also helping the Yale administration try to get me killed to cover up their gross woke malfeasance. And I am the proof that woke intersectional feminism and critical race theory are utter bigotry and stupidity. And that's why he did this. So let's just start there, okay? Let's just start there. Not to mention Michelle Obama's ridiculous asinine speech at the DNC, at the Democratic National Convention. Let's also, while we're at it, let's just talk about the fact that the entire Democratic Party, from Joe Biden on down, perpetrated the great racism scare of 2018 and 2019 to the present. And they did this, which is otherwise known as the Living While Black race hoax. Everyone knows this. Almost every single Living While Black incident has turned out to be a race and or hate crime hoax. That is the absolute truth, and everyone knows it's true. And this was a race hoax, the great racism scare of 2018 to the present, that was perpetrated by the Democratic Party, by the left. And they did this to smear Trump and to demonize white women. This was political violence. They turned the Living While Black race hoax, or the Living While Black movement, they destroyed it. They turned it into a blood sport targeting vulnerable white women like myself, especially white women with ostensible mental health disabilities or actual mental health disabilities, as is the case for myself. And they did this including by pushing the napping wall, the obvious, the perfectly obvious Living or Napping While Black hate crime hoax at Yale. And of course, I am the entirely innocent victim thereof. So let's talk about that. So why don't we also talk, and that is political violence. That was incitement of political violence. And if Trump should be impeached for inciting political violence because of the Capitol riot, because of the Capitol mob, then the entire Democratic Party should be impeached for perpetrating and propagating the Living While Black race hoax, the great racism scare of 2018 until now, because they fomented so much. They are responsible for inciting the violence in Portland, Chicago, etc. They are responsible for that. They are responsible for people's private businesses being burned to the ground, looted, the rioting. They are responsible for that, the Democrats. Because perpetrating the Living While Black race hoax, the great racism scare, fomented so much more violence, hatred, and division than anything Trump ever did. So if Trump should be impeached for inciting political violence, there are a few other people in the Democratic Party, or a lot of other people in the Democratic Party, who also need to be impeached for inciting political violence. Now let's talk about, I'm not done. Let's talk about Karen acts. And I was cited in state legislatures, in state and municipal legislatures across the United States. I was cited as for the impetus for grossly unconstitutional Karen acts. It's a new brazen form of hate crime legislation wherein there is not even an attempt to pretend like the legislators are trying to abide by the U.S. Constitution, particularly the First Amendment. But these Karen acts are grossly unconstitutional for other reasons as well, including the fact that they are unconstitutional bills of attainder, which means that it's basically legislating that a particular individual or a particular group, is a criminal, which is what they did to me. Now, I know that on its face, the actual final text of the Karen acts don't explicitly name me, but I am in the proposals for Karen acts across the U.S. and state legislators across the U.S. So I am a part of the official legislative history of these grossly unconstitutional Karen acts. And the legislators in New York, they didn't even bother to pretend like their Karen Act was not a grossly unconstitutional bill of attainder. They've been referring to it, as have journalists, because they are just incredibly stupid and or evil, been referring to the New York Karen Act as the Amy Cooper Act. The white woman who called 911, it was the Central Park bird watching Living While Black episode. So that just tells you right there that besides the fact that they named it Karen Act after the new racial slur, sexist racial slur being used against white women to further demonize white women, that they called them Karen Acts, but also in New York they're calling their Karen Act the Amy Cooper Act. So they're not even pretending like they aren't violating the US Constitution. So anyway, I think I'll stop there because I want to kick out a bunch of videos tonight, but I love you all so much for all of your support and your kind words and your donations. Please donate to my legal fund. My attorneys are going to be back in court soon, going up against Yale for the Yale police body cam footage from the Living or Napping While Black hate crime hoax at Yale. And I also would love to turn over the enforcement of my FERPA request for Yale's internal emails from the hate crime hoax at Yale to my attorneys. So please donate to my legal fund. I'll have my GoFundMe, my PayPal me, and a link where you can donate directly to my fabulous attorneys at Randazza Legal Group if you so choose. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Have a great night.